the background okay, and I hope you can hear me okay. Again, this is my first time doing ASMR, so please let me know if anything is too loud or too soft, and I will adjust. Hi, hey, it's Mimzy May, haunted house mass streamer and polite pumpkin eater, here to give you creepy, cozy company. For today, I will be reading a Goosebumps book for you all today. But before that, I would like to introduce you to a little friend of mine. So, let me go ahead and bring him out. This is my little friend. Meet Augustus, or Gus Gus. Boohoo. So Gus Gus Boohoo. He is a scaredy spectral sproutling working pumpkin patch PR, or poltergeist relations. He is the ghost of a young pumpkin who met a tragic fate at the hands of woodland creatures, mice included. When he and I met, we screamed and we hid from each other. Gus Gus is scared of mice, just like how I'm scared of ghosts. But we both felt bad scaring each other, so we ended up putting that aside though, for friendship instead. So now he helps me with other ghosts, as well as taking care of all of you in the pumpkin patch by keeping you all stuffed with pumpkin pastries, juice, and a lot of silly, scary stories. So this is my mascot and my little friend that helps me around the pumpkin patch and also helps me take care of all of you. So, isn't he cute? But yes, he is the ghost of a young pumpkin. That's why he has a little sprout on his head. So, alright. Oh, and now you all get to see my new ASMR chatting screen. So I will go ahead and switch over to that. Before I let you know, this Sunday I'll be playing more Pokemon Scarlet, and next week I'm going to be probably having the same schedule as I did this week, just with, the additional chapters of Ranvo, another Goosebumps book, and different gyms in Pokemon Scarlet. Alright, how about we move into somewhere a little more comfy? Huh? What does everyone think? Isn't it cute? This is my new little area. I wanted it to be very, cozy and whimsical and such. But yes, this is my new area. Okay. I am hoping to get through the entire, book today. It's not too long, but I am also being very conscious of my volume, so I might read a lot slower. But we shall see. Oh, and of course, happy Friday, everyone. Thank you for spending the end of the week with me. I hope I can give you some nice winding down time. Okay. Alright, let me grab my book. Okay. And I have the physical book too, so you'll be hearing page turning and such, and I hope that's okay. I think it's very relaxing hearing turning pages, so I hope you think the same. Alright. So, Goosebumps. One day at Horrorland. Chapter 1. As we entered the gates of Horrorland, we had no idea that in just a few hours we would all be lying in our coffins. I'm the calm one in the Morris family. Everyone says, Lizzie, you're the calm one, and I'm trying to tell this story calmly. But believe me, there's no way. We had never planned to go to Horrorland. In fact, we never heard of it. The 5 of us were squeezed into Dad's little Toyota on our way to spend the day at a zoo gardens theme park. Dad had messed up and left the map at home, but Mom said the park would be really easy to find. When we get close to the park, Mom said there would be lots of signs to direct us, but so far we haven't seen a single sign. Dad was driving and Mom was beside him in the front. I was squeezed in back with my little brother Luke, who is 10, and Luke's friend Clay. It probably wasn't the best place to be. My brother cannot sit still for a second, especially in the car. He has just too much energy, and he's totally goofy. The longer we drove, the more restless Luke became. He tried wrestling with Clay, but there really wasn't room. Then he tried arm wrestling with him, and the two just kept bumping me until I lost my temper and started shouting at them to stop. Why don't you 3 play alphabet? Mom suggested from the front. Look out the window for letters. But there aren't any, Luke replied. There aren't any signs. There just isn't anything to look at, Clay grumbled. He was right. We were driving past flat, sandy fields. There were a few scraggly trees here and there. The rest was all desert. I'm going to take this turn off, Dad announced. He shook off his Chicago Cubs cap and scratched his thinning blonde hair. Haven't I already taken this turn off? Dad is the only blonde in the family. Mom, Luke, and I all have straight black hair and blue eyes. In fact, Dad doesn't look as if he belongs in the same family. The 3 of us are tall and thin with very fair skin, and Dad is short and kind of chubby with a round face that's almost always pink. I tease him all the time because I think he looks a lot more like a wrestler than a bank manager, which he is. I'm pretty sure we've been here already, Dad said unhappily. It's hard to tell. It's all desert, Mom replied, gazing out her window. Very helpful, Dad muttered. How can I be helpful? Mom shot back. You're the one who left the map on the kitchen table. I thought you packed it, Dad grumbled. Why should it be my job to pack the map? Mom cried. Break it up, you two, I interrupted. Once they start fighting, they never stop. It's always best to interrupt them quickly before they really get into it. I'm the mad pincher, Luke cried. He let out a gruesome horror movie laugh and started pinching Clay's ribs and arms. I hate Luke's mad pincher routine more than anything. I was so glad that Clay was sitting in the middle next to Luke and not me. Usually, the only way to stop Luke's pinching is to slug him. Clay started squirming and laughing. He thinks everything Luke does is a riot. He laughs at all my brother's stupid jokes and stunts. I think that's why Luke likes Clay so much. The 2 of them begin pinching each other. Then Luke shoved Clay into me. Give me a break, I cried. I shoved Clay back. I know I shouldn't have, but it was getting hot in the car and we've been driving for hours. What was I supposed to do? Lizzie, boys, chill out back there, Dad cried. Dad, nobody says chill out anymore, I told him calmly and quietly. Since when was chill out a thing that goes out of style? For some reason, that made him go berserk. He started yelling, and his face got bright red. I knew he wasn't mad at me. He was mad because we couldn't find the Zoo Gardens theme park. Everybody just take a deep breath and be silent, Mom suggested. Ow, stop pinching me, Clay screamed. He gave Luke a hard shove. You stop pinching me, my brother shrieked, shoving him back. Boys can really be animals. Hey, look, a sign up ahead. Mom pointed to as a large green sign came into view. Luke and Clay stopped fighting. Dad leaned forward over the steering wheel, squinting through the windshield. Does it say where the park is? Luke demanded. Does it say where we are? Clay asked. The words in the sign came into view as we drove past. It read, "Sign for rent." We all let out a disappointed groan. The mad pincher returns, Luke cried. He gave Clay a hard pinch on the arm. Luke never knows when to quit. This road isn't going anywhere, Dad said, scowling. I'll have to turn around and get back on the highway if I can find it. I think you should ask for directions, Mom asked. Ask someone, Dad exploded. Do you see anyone I can ask? His face was bright red again. He drove with one hand so he could use the other to shake a fist. I mean, if you see a gas station, Mom murmured. A gas station, Dad screamed. I don't even see a tree. Dad was right. I stared out the window and saw nothing but white sand on both sides of the road. The sun beamed down on it, making it gleam. The sand was so bright, it nearly looked like snow. I meant to go north, Dad muttered. The desert is north. We must have gone south. Or the desert is south. We must have gone south. You better turn around, Mom urged. Are we lost? Clay asked. I could hear some fear in his voice. Clay isn't the bravest kid in the world. In fact, he's pretty easy to scare. Once, I crept up behind him in our backyard at night and whispered his name, and he almost jumped right out of his shoes. Dad, are we lost? Luke repeated the question. Yeah, we're lost, Dad replied quietly, hopelessly lost. Clay let out a soft cry and slumped into a seat. He looked like a little balloon deflating. Don't tell him that, Mom cried sharply. What should I tell him? Dad snapped back. We're nowhere near Zoo Gardens. We're nowhere near civilization. We're in the desert going nowhere. Just turn around. I'm sure we'll find someone we can ask, Mom said softly. And stop being so dramatic. We're all going to die in the desert, Luke said, with a gruesome grin on his face. And buzzards will peck out our eyeballs and eat our flesh. My brother has a great sense of humor, doesn't he? You can't imagine what it's like having to live with a total ghoul. Luke, stop scaring Clay, Mom said, turning to her seat to glare at Luke. I'm not scared, Clay insisted. But he looked scared. His round face was kind of pale, and his eyes were blinking a lot behind his glasses. With his short, feathery blonde hair and round eyeglasses, Clay looked like a frightened owl. Muttering to himself, Dad slowed the car to a stop. Then he turned it around and we headed back in the direction we had come. Great vacation, he said through clenched teeth. It's still early, Mom told him, checking her watch. The late morning sun was nearly straight overhead. I could feel its warmth on my face through the open sunroof. We drove for nearly half an hour. Luke wanted to play 20 questions or geography with Clay, but Clay moodily said no. He just stared out the window, watching the desert roll by. Every few minutes he'd ask, "Are we still lost?" "Pretty lost," my dad would reply unhappily. "We're okay," Mom kept reassuring us. As we drove, the scraggly trees reappeared, and after a while the sand gave way to darker fields dotted with trees and low shrubs. I sat silently, my hands clasped in my lap, staring out the window. I wasn't really scared or worried, but I wish we would at least see a gas station or a store, or one other human being. I'm getting hungry, Luke, right? Is it lunchtime? With a long sigh that sounded like air escaping from a tire, Dad pulled the car to the side of the road. He reached across Mom to the glove compartment. "There's got to be some kind of map in there," he said. "No, I already looked," Mom told him, and they started to argue. I raised my eyes to the open sunroof above my head. "Oh!" I let out a cry as I saw a hideous monster staring down at me, lowering its enormous head, about to crush me. End of chapter 1. I think I'm going to make sure that I am drinking water between chapters. I hope I'm doing okay. I hope this is comforting and a good pace. Doing great, very relaxing, fantastic. But also, Aito, I think you're biased. You're one of my mods. You're supposed to say that. I'm glad it's a nice chill time. That's all I could ask for. Doing a face mask. How exciting. Is it a sheet mask or is it one that you slather on? I like both of them. Doing face masks are really fun. I haven't had the chance to do one in a while. Haven't been read to in a long time. Oh, I'm so happy that I can read to you then. Cleaning your room? Fantastic. I'm glad you're being productive. Your room is gonna be squeaky clean in no time. Emphasis on the squeak. It's a peel mask. Oh, okay. I don't usually do those often, so that's nice. I'm glad you're doing self-care. Alright. Let's get on to chapter 2. Oh, no. Right. It is the day before 4th of July. Okay. Pretend it's thunder. Give me a second. I don't really like fireworks. I always forget 4th of July is a thing. Are they already shooting? They are. Why isn't my routine working? I feel your head pat. I promise. Okay, okay. Hang on. dropped my book. Okay. I've got this. How much can you all hear the fireworks? Is it way too not ASMR? I'm more worried about you all, really, and my ability to give you creepy, cozy company. Like mild pops? Okay. It makes no difference. I'm sorry, everyone. Okay. Your emotional well-being is more important than stream? I'm okay, I promise. I just get a little nervous. I don't know why I thought it would be a good idea to do an ASMR stream on the night before 4th of July. Okay. How about this? I'm going to read another chapter or two, see how the fireworks are, and if there's a lot of fireworks that I don't think I'll be able to read steadily, and it interferes with the reading, I will use this opportunity to try out some proper ASMR triggers. How about that? Like tapping and keyboard sounds and such. Since I'm not sure how loud those are gonna be, so I think that might be a good compromise. Since it's still ASMR with a little bit of scoff. And yeah, so that's going to be the plan. Whatever makes you comfortable, stop! I'm here for all of you. How dare people start going explosion crazy while Mimzy is streaming, honestly. This is why Halloween is one of the best holidays, because it doesn't have fireworks. I wish fireworks weren't so loud. They're pretty. Okay. On to chapter 2. Welcome back from ads. I really appreciate you all sitting through ads since it does help support the channel. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Alright. Chapter 2. I opened my mouth to scream, but no sound came out. The monster glared down at me through the sunroof. It was as tall as a building, I realized. Its red eyes glowed with evil, and its mouth was twisted in a hungry grin. Dad, I finally managed to stammer. Dad was bent over, fumbling through the papers in the glove compartment. Wow, I heard Luke cry. I turned and saw that Luke was staring up at it too, his blue eyes wide with fright. Dad? Mom? My heart was pounding so hard I thought my chest might explode. Lizzie, what is it? Mom asked impatiently. The monster lowered its head over us, its mouth open wide, ready to swallow the whole car. And then Luke started to laugh. Wow, cool, he cried. I realized at the same time that the monster wasn't alive. It was a mechanical figure, part of a giant billboard display. Ducking my head to get a better view through the side window, I saw that Dad had pulled up the car right beside the billboard. My parents were so busy arguing about maps, they hadn't even noticed. I stared up at the red-eyed monster. It lowered its head and opened its jaws. Then the jaws snapped shut, and the enormous head slid back up. It looks so real, Clay exclaimed, staring up at it. Didn't fool me, I lied. I wasn't going to admit that I nearly leaped out through the sunroof. I'm supposed to be the calm one after all. I rolled down the window and stuck my head out to read the billboard in front of the mechanical monster. In huge red letters, it said, "Welcome to Horrorland, where nightmares come to life." There was a dark red arrow in the upper left-hand corner with the words, 1 mile. "Can we go there?" Luke demanded eagerly. He leaned forward and grabbed the back of Dad's seat with both hands. "Can we, Dad? How about it?" "It looks kind of scary," Clay said softly. Dad slammed the glove compartment shut with a sigh. He was giving up on the map idea. "Luke, stop pulling my seat," he snapped. "Sit back." "Can we go to Horrorland?" Luke asked. "Horrorland? What's Horrorland?" Mom demanded. "Never heard of it," Dad muttered. "It's only a mile from here," Luke pleaded. "It looks great." The monster lowered its head over the car, staring in through the sunroof. Then it raised its head again. "I don't think so," Mom said, looking at the huge billboard. Oh, I lost my place. There. Zoo Gardens is such a wonderful park. Horrorland doesn't look very nice. "It looks great," Luke insisted, pulling at Dad's seat back again. "It looks really excellent." "Luke, sit back," Dad pleaded. "Let's go," I urged. "We're never going to find Zoo Gardens." Mom hesitated, chewing her lower lip. "I don't know," she said fretfully. "Some of these places aren't safe." "It'll be safe," Luke declared. "It'll be very safe." "Luke, sit back," Dad growled. "Can we go?" Luke demanded, ignoring Dad's request. "Can we?" "It could be fun," Clay said quietly. "Let's give it a try," I urged them. "If we hate it, we can always leave." Dad rubbed his chin. He sighed. "Well, I guess it would be better than sitting here in the middle of nowhere arguing all day." "Yay!" Luke screamed. Luke and I reached over Clay to... "Hello, hi. Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. How am I supposed to stay quiet? Hi. Thank you. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. Thank you so much. Thank you. Oh my goodness, thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Oh, and a gifted sub to Zoe. That is so sweet of you. Thank you, Captain. Thank you and welcome in. Thank you again for the 6 gifted subs. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you. I am 6 out of 20 of my sub goal. If you all didn't know, my sub goal is a little silly one, where it's an ASMR stream of me reading out pumpkin recipes. Thank you so much for the 6 gifted subs. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you. Domo. Okay. Oh, where was I? Reese! How sweet! Thank you so much for giving Finn a gifted sub. Thank you! Thank you so much! Lucky number 7, thank you! Please, thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Goodness. I don't know how else other streamers don't freak out. It's very hard to keep my voice calm and soft and ASMR-like. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay. Where was I? Oh. Luke and I reached over Clay to slap each other a high five. Horrorland sounded like a pretty cool place to me, too. I love scary rides. If the rides are as scary as the monster, I said, pointing at the billboard, this park will be awesome. You don't think it's too scary, do you? Clay asked. I saw that he had his hands clasped tightly in his lap, and he had the frightened owl look on his face again. No, it won't be too scary, I told him. Oh wow, was I wrong? I can't believe someone would build a big theme park out in the wilderness, Dad declared. We were driving through what seemed like an endless forest. Tall old trees leaned over the two-lane road, nearly blocking out the morning sun, and... Captain, wait a minute. What the heck? Captain? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, thank you so much for the 10 gifted. Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. Thank you. Wow. Okay. I'm supposed to stay quiet. How am I supposed to stay quiet and calm? This is nuts. This is coconuts. Thank you again so much for the 10 gifted. Thank you, Captain. Thank you. What an exciting stream, and I can't be overly excited because I have to be quiet, like a mouse. I hope you all are being loud and cheering for me so I can stay calm and soft and quiet for all of you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you. Excuse me, Boa. We're not in the manor, actually. We're in the pumpkin patch. Okay. Let us see. Goodness, Captain, you're gonna keep making me lose my place. We were... Captain, what did I say? The feel I got for now, that is more than enough. I'm so grateful, thank you so much. Oh my goodness, thank you. And of course, welcome to the pumpkin patch. Thank you so much, thank you. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you so much for the total of, what was that? 26 gifted subs? Oh my goodness. Goal reached. We will be reading pumpkin recipes. Good gracious. Thank you. Yes, everyone salute the captain, apparently. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay. Alright, how about we get back to the story? Okay. We were driving through what seemed like an endless forest. Tall, old trees leaned over the two-lane road, nearly blocking out the late morning sun. Maybe they haven't built the park yet, Mom suggested. Maybe they're going to clear out these trees and build the park here. All three of us in the back seat were hoping Mom was wrong, and she was. The road curved sharply, and as we came out of the curve, we saw the tall gates of the park straight up ahead. Behind a tall purple fence, Horrorland seemed to stretch for miles. Leaning forward in my seat, I could see the tops of rides and strange, colorful buildings. As we drove across the enormous parking lot, eerie chords of organ music invaded the car. "Yay, this looks great," Luke exclaimed. Clay and I enthusiastically agreed. I couldn't wait to get out of the car and see everything. "The parking lot is nearly empty," Dad said, glancing uneasily at Mom. "That means we won't have to wait in long lines," I quickly explained. "I think Lizzie is excited about this place," Mom commented, smiling. "Me too," Luke cried. He punched Clay enthusiastically on the shoulder. Luke always has to be punching or pinching somebody. We crossed the wide parking lot. I saw a few cars parked near the front gate. At the far side of the lot stood a row of purple and green buses with the word Horrorland across the side. As we rode closer, I got a good look at the front of the gate. The same monster we had seen behind the billboard rose up behind a big purple and green sign over the gate. The sign read, "The Horrorland Horrors welcome you to Horrorland." "I don't get that sign," Mom said. "What are the Horrorland Horrors?" "We'll find out," I exclaimed happily. The solemn, eerie organ music floated heavily over the parking lot. Dad pulled into a space in an empty aisle to the right of the front gate. Luke and I pushed open the back doors before the car had even stopped. "Let's go," I cried. Luke, Clay, and I started trotting over toward the gate. As I ran, I stared up at the green monster over the sign. This one didn't move its head like the billboard monster, but it looked very real. I glanced back and saw that Mom and Dad were hurrying to catch up with us. "This is going to be way cool," I exclaimed. And then I gasped as a deafening explosion made the ground shake, and I stared back in horror as our car burst apart, exploding into a million pieces. End of chapter 2. I hope you all are staying hydrated as well. Make sure to be doing your stretches and everything. Don't you hate when your car explodes after getting to an amusement park? Happens all the time at Disneyland. All the time. Okay. On to chapter 3. Chapter 3. It took me a long while to stop screaming. Finally, I swallowed hard, choking back my cries. We all stared in shock. Small chunks of twisted metal and a few burning cinders were all that was left of our car. "How?" was all Dad managed to say. I don't believe it," I stammered. "Thank goodness we were all out of the car," Mom cried. She gathered us up in a big hug. "Thank goodness we're all okay." Luke and Clay still hadn't uttered a sound. They stood wide-eyed, staring at the spot where the car had stood. "My car," Dad choked out in a horrified whisper. "My car. How? How? We're safe, Mom murmured. We're all safe. What a terrifying explosion. I can't get the sound of it out of my ears. I've got to call the police, Dad sputtered. He began trotting to the gate, shaking his head and muttering to himself. How could the car just blow up like that, dear? Mom asked, hurrying after him. What would make it do that? How should I know? Dad snapped angrily. I don't get it. I really don't. And now what are we going to do? He sounded really panicked. I don't blame him. The explosion was really scary. And when I realized that we could have all been inside the car when it went off, I had cold chills down my back. Maybe there was a car rental place we can call, Mom suggested. Mom is like me, calm in any emergency. We followed Dad as he went running up to the ticket booth at the entrance. A green monster stood in the booth. He had bulging yellow eyes and dark horns curled over his head. It was a really great costume. Welcome to Horrorland, he said in a gruff, low voice. A low stab of organ music rose up from inside the ticket booth. I am a Horrorland horror, all of the horrors, and I hope you have a scary day. My car, Dad cried frantically. There was an explosion. I need a phone. I'm sorry, sir. No phones, the guy in the monster costume replied. Ooh. Huh? Dad's face went bright red again. His forehead was drenched with sweat. But I need a phone right away, Dad insisted, glaring angrily at the green monster. My car exploded. We're stuck here. We'll take care of you, the horror replied, lowering his gruff voice nearly to a whisper. Yo, what? Dad cried. We need a car. I need to get to a phone. Don't you understand? No phones, the monster repeated. But please, sir, allow us to take care of you. I promise we will take care of everything. Don't let this spoil your visit to Horrorland. Spoil my visit, Dad shrieked, his face growing even redder. But my car! Another loud stab of organ music made me jump. The creepy music made me feel as if we were actually in a horror movie. We will take care of you, I promise, the horror said. A strange smile crossed his face. His yellow eyes lit up. Please enjoy your stay and do not worry about transportation. The other horrors and I will see that you are properly taken care of. But, Dad sputtered. The horrors gestured toward the park. Please enter as our guests. Free admission. I apologize. For your car. But please do not worry. I promise you will have no need to worry about your car. Dad turned back to us, sweat dripping down his forehead. I could see that he was really upset. I can't enjoy an amusement park now, he said. I can't believe this happened. I really can't. We've got to get a car somehow, and... Oh, please, Dad, Luke cried. Please, can't we go inside? He said he'll take care of it for us. Just for a little while, I joined my brother in pleading. We had such a long drive, Mom told Dad. Let's go in for a short while. Let them blow off some steam. Dad thought about it, frowning hard. Okay, just for a little while, he agreed finally. The organ music grew louder as we stepped through the gate. Wow, look at this place, I cried. It's really like being in a horror movie. We started standing on a brown cobbled street. Strange dark cottages tilted up on both sides of the street. Tall trees along the street nearly blocked out all the sunlight. The air carried a chill. Low howls like wolf howls floated out from the cottages. Cool, Luke declared. A sign proclaimed, "Welcome to Werewolf Village. Do not feed the werewolves if you can help it." The frightening howls grew louder. Luke and I laughed at the sign. I saw a green monster, one of the horrors, staring out at us through a dark window in the cottage across a narrow street. Another horror walked past, carrying a very real-looking human head. He grasped it by its long blonde hair and bounced it up and down, sort of like a yo-yo as he walked. "Cool," Luke proclaimed again. It seemed to be the word of the day. We walked along the cobbled street. The sound of our thudding sneakers echoed off the cottage walls. "Ooh!" We let out cries of surprise as a long, low gray wolf ran in front of us. It disappeared around the side of a cottage before we got a really good look at it. "Was that a real wolf?" Clay asked, his voice shaking. "Of course not," I told him. "It was probably a dog, or else it was mechanical." "Well, they certainly keep the park clean," Mom said, trying to sound cheerful. "There isn't a piece of trash or dirt anywhere. Of course, it isn't very crowded." Dad lingered behind. I have got to find a phone," he said fretfully. "I can't enjoy this until I know we have a way to get home." "But dear," Mom started. "There's got to be a phone somewhere," Dad interrupted. "Go on without me." "No, I'll come with you," Mom said. "You're in a frantic state. You'll need me to make the calls for you. The kids will have a better time without us hanging around anyway." "Leave them?" Dad cried. "You mean let them go on their own?" "Of course," Mom said, hurrying back to him. "They'll be perfectly fine. This looks like a very nice place. What could happen?" What could happen indeed? With those words, Mom and Dad rushed off to find a phone. "Meet back here," Mom called to us. Luke, Clay, and I were suddenly on our own. I turned to watch Mom and Dad hurry away. I turned back in time to see a gray wolf edging out from behind the cottage. It lowered its head and let out a rumbling, warning growl. All three of us froze as we realized its hungry red eyes were locked on us. End of chapter 3. Zoe, thank you for the pumpkin juice. And hi there, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the pumpkin patch. Good gracious. All of the horror movie things that they shouldn't be doing, they're doing it. Ow. Ow. I actually haven't read any Goosebumps books. These books aren't mine, they're my brother's, which I borrowed. So this is really fun. I don't know why I never really got into the Goosebumps books. It seems like something up my alley, but I don't know. So I'm happy to be doing it for the first time with all of you, though. Okay, on to chapter 4. Chapter 4. I cried out and pulled Luke and Clay back. The wolf slithered out, holding its head low, glaring up at us with wide red eyes, its mouth open hungrily. It's real, Clay declared, swallowing hard. I had my hand on his shoulder. I could feel him trembling. The wolf let out a deep growl. Then it slid back behind the cottage wall. I think it's some kind of robot or something, I told Clay. Let's go somewhere else. Clay replied, suddenly very pale. What does that sign up there say? Luke asked. He went running over the dark cobblestones to the sign, and Clay and I followed. The sign read, "No pinching." Luke laughed. That's stupid. What a dumb sign, Clay agreed. That sign was meant just for you, Luke, I exclaimed. I gave him a hard pinch on the arm. Hey, can't you read? He shouted angrily, pointing to the sign. I saw a green horror watching us from down the street. Then I saw a family making its way behind the row of cottages. There was a mother, a father, and a little girl. The little girl was crying for some reason. The parents had their hands on her shoulders and looked very upset. A wolf howl cut through the air. Let's find some rides, Clay suggested. Some scary rides, Luke added. Walking side by side, keeping close together, we made our way to the werewolf village. The street widened into a round plaza. Bright sunlight returned as soon as we stepped out of the village. Several purple and green buildings surrounded the plaza. I saw a few more families and several green costume horrors keeping an eye on everything. A pudgy horror behind a purple and green cart was selling ice cream cones. Black ice cream. Ooh, like sesame? Black sesame ice cream is such a delight. Yuck, Luke declared, making a face. We hurried past the cart, past another no pinching sign, and stopped in front of what appeared to be a tall purple mountain. It's a ride, I told them. A doorway was cut into the side of the mountain. And above the door was a sign, Doom Slide. Will you be the one to slide forever? Cool, Luke cried, slapping Clay a high five. I bet you climb to the top, then slide all the way down, I said, pointing to the top of the mountain-shaped building. Let's go, Luke cried excitedly. We ran to the building, then through the open door in its side. It was dark and cold inside. A wide ramp curved up toward the top. I could hear kids squealing and laughing, but I couldn't see them. The three of us half walked, half ran up the ramp, eager to get to the top. About halfway up, we stopped to read another sign. Warning, you may be the one to slide to your doom. Now I could hear kids screaming as they slid down, but it was too dark to see anything. Are you scared, Clay? I asked, noticing his tight expression. No way, he insisted, embarrassed by my question. I've seen these things before. They're like really huge sliding boards. You just sit on them and slide down. Hurry, Luke shouted, running ahead of us. Hey, wait, I called. I followed them up to the top of the ramp. We found ourselves on a wide platform, a row of long, curving sliding boards stretched to the end of the platform. The sliding boards were numbered from 1 to 10. In the dim light, I saw two horrors watching us approach. They stood in front of the sliding boards, their bulging yellow eyes lit up as we hurried over to them. Do you slide all the way down? Luke asked one of them. The horror nodded. Do you go really fast? Clay asked, lingering a few feet behind us. The horror nodded again. It's a long way down, he rumbled. Be careful which slide you pick, the other horror warned. Don't pick the doom slide. He gestured to the number painted in black in front of each slide. Yes, don't pick the doom slide, his partner repeated. You'll slide down forever and ever. I laughed. He was just trying to scare us, wasn't he? End of chapter 4. Cry, hi. I hope you have good evenings. A kiss for sweet dreams. Thank you for checking in. I want Little Caesar Quasi bread. I don't think I've had Little Caesar Quasi bread. Sounds quasi. But what makes it quasi? I think I just want bread in general. Then again, pizza also just sounds good. I think it's because I'm so cozy, so like a cozy night with like a nice pizza box. Like comfy junk food and such for like horror movies. Okay. So salty. But God, can I not get enough of it? Let me just stick it into my veins. I don't think you're supposed to stick bread into your veins, Boa. I don't think that's, medically advised. But it's cool that it's salty. Because I get low blood volume, I need to always know what stuff has a lot of salt content if I don't have any salt packets with me. Just finished dinner while you were reading. Oh, I'm glad. I hope you had a good eat. Let me know what you had for dinner if you want. I'm probably gonna eat after this. Doctor says don't stick chocolate fudge into my veins and I'm fine. Oh? Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, my blood was orange with how much pumpkin I consume. I love pumpkins. I'm not sure if that's obvious. Angel hair pasta with sauce, extra garlic, and parm. Good. I love garlic, even though the vampires get really annoyed when I have it around. But it's not my fault. Okay. On to chapter 5. Chapter 5. I chose slide number 3 because 3 is my lucky number. Ooh. I love when people have lucky numbers. I really like the number 136. Luke sat down on top of the slide next to mine, slide number 2, and Clay scrambled over to the far end and dropped down onto slide number 10. Hi, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the pumpkin patch. I glanced back to see what the horrors were doing, but before I could focus on them, I felt the bottom tilt underneath me. I let out a long, high-pitched shriek as I began to slide. I raised my arms over my head, leaned back, and screamed all the way down. My cries echoed in the enormous dark canyon of the doomed slide building. It felt great. The slide curved and curved, and I swirled down in the darkness faster and faster. In the shadowy light, I could see Luke in the slide next to mine. He was lying on his back, staring straight up with his mouth wide open. I tried to call out to him, but the slide curved away, and I curved with it. Down and down. I was sliding so fast, the darkness became a solid blur. The slide curved up, then around, then back again. I'm a human roller coaster, I thought happily. Down, down, darker and darker. I'm sliding faster than the speed of light, I thought. I glanced from one side to the other to see Luke and Clay, but it was too dark and I was moving too fast. Too fast. And then, bump. A chute opened up. I hit the ground hard, landing on the seat of my jeans. outside. I was back outside. Bump. Luke bounced out beside me. He hit the ground, still lying on his back, and made no attempt to get up. He grinned up at me. Where am I? Back on the ground, I told him, climbing to my feet. I brushed off the back of my jeans, then reached behind my head to straighten my braid. Great ride, huh? Let's go again, Luke said, still lying there. You can't go again if you don't get up, I said. Help me, he reached up a hand. I groaned as I tucked him into a sitting position. Get up yourself, I said impatiently. You were screaming in there, he told me. I did it on purpose. I said I wanted to scream. Yeah, sure, he rolled his eyes, then pulled himself to his feet. Wow, I'm a little dizzy. How fast do you think we were going? I shrugged. Pretty fast, I think. It's so dark in there, it's hard to know how fast you're going. And then I realized we were missing a member of our sliding party. I stared at the closed chutes in the wall of the building. Hey, where's Clay? Huh? Luke had forgotten about him too. We both stared at the side of the building, waiting for Clay to pop out. Where is he? Luke demanded shrilly. He couldn't be that much slower than us, could he? I shook my head. I was starting to feel really nervous. I had a heavy feeling in the pit of my stomach. My hands were suddenly cold and clammy. Come on, Clay, I pleaded, staring at the wall. Come on out. Luke scratched his black hair. Where'd he go? He asked. Why didn't Clay come out? Maybe he came out the front, I said. Maybe slide number 10 dumps you out in front. Let's check. As we ran around the building toward the front, I scolded myself for getting scared so easily. Of course Clay came out from a different chute. He was probably waiting for us in front of the building. He was probably worried about us. As we rounded the purple building, the wide circular plaza came into view. I searched for Mom and Dad, but they weren't there. I saw a couple of other families on the other side of the circle, and the pudgy green horror leaning on his ice cream cart. No sign of Clay. Luke and I kept running up to the front entrance of the doom slide. We stopped a few feet from the opening. He isn't here, Luke cried, struggling to catch his breath. I was breathing hard too, and the heavy feeling of dread in my stomach grew even heavier. No, Clay, I muttered. What are we going to do? Luke asked, his blue eyes wide with fear. I saw a green horror woman standing just inside the entrance. Hey, I called as I ran over to her. Did you see a kid come out from there? I asked breathlessly. The yellow eyes and the horror's mask bulged and appeared to light up. No, this is the entrance. No one comes out here, she replied. He's blonde and sort of chubby. He wears glasses, I told her. He's wearing a blue t-shirt and denim shorts. The horror shook her head. No one comes out this way. Did you check the back? Everyone comes out the back. He didn't, Luke said shrilly. We were there. He didn't come out. My brother's voice was high and squeaky. He was breathing so hard, his chest was heaving up and down. He was in a panic. I was frightened too, but I knew I had to stay calm for Luke's sake. He didn't come out the back, I told the horror, and he didn't come out the front. So what happened to him? The horror was silent for a moment. Then she said, in a low voice, just above a whisper, maybe your friend chose the doom slide. End of chapter 5. The plot thickens. Ooh, spooky and scary. liking how this story is going so far. I of course see where it's going and what it's leading up to, but I am curious to see how they execute it. Doom slide though. Interesting. Okay. Let's get on to chapter 6. Chapter 6. I stared at the young woman in the horror costume. You're joking, right? I stammered. I mean, the doom slide, that's just a joke. She stared back with her bulging yellow eyes and didn't reply. The signs give a warning, she said. And there's always a warning. She turned and disappeared into the dark entrance. Luke and I goggled at each other. I swallowed hard. My throat suddenly felt very dry. My hands were cold as ice now. This is stupid, Luke muttered. He jammed his hands into his jean pockets. It's just a dumb slide. Why is she trying to scare us? I guess that's her job, I told him. We've got to find Mom and Dad, Luke muttered. We've got to find Clay first, I told him. If Mom and Dad find out we lost Clay, then they'll get angry and make us go home as soon as we find him. If we find him, Luke said glumly. I glanced back across the plaza. No Mom and Dad. 2 teenagers were buying black ice cream cones from the horror at the cart. 2 horrors were sweeping the plaza with push brooms, working side by side. Far in the distance, I can hear the howl of a wolf from the werewolf village. The sun was high in the sky now. I could feel it beaming down on top of my head and my shoulders, but I still felt cold all over. Clay, where are you? I asked, thinking out loud. He's sliding forever, Luke said, shaking his head. Sliding forever and ever on the doom slide. That's dumb, I replied. But Luke had given me an idea. Come on, I said, tugging a sleeve on his t-shirt. I started pulling him to the dark entrance. Huh? Where? Luke pulled back. We'll go on the slides again, I told him. His mouth dropped open in protest. Without Clay? We can't go on it again without Clay. We're going to find Clay, I said, grabbing his arm this time and pulling him to the dark open doorway. You mean? My brother was starting to catch on. I nodded. Yes, we'll follow him. We'll take the same slide he took. Slide number 10. Luke murmured, and then he added in a solemn whisper, the doom slide. We'll take it, and it will lead us right to him, I said. We climbed the ramp in silence. The rapid thud of our sneakers echoed in the vast hallway of the mountain. Of the mountain. We ran past the sign about halfway up to the top. I read it again as I passed it by. Warning, you may be the one to slide to your doom. Clay, are you still sliding? I wondered. I shook my head hard, shaking away the thought. Of course he wasn't still sliding. What a stupid idea. The 2 horrors were still standing at the top of the slides. Be careful which slide you pick, one of them warned. We know which one we want, I said breathlessly. Slide number 10. Both of us, together. The horror nearest the slide motioned for us to sit down. I glanced at Luke, who stood right behind me, his features tight with fear. He tugged me back a few steps. Maybe we shouldn't, he whispered. Why not? I demanded impatiently. What if the warning is true? Luke demanded. Don't be dumb, I scolded him. This is an amusement park, remember? They don't kill kids or send them sliding to their doom. It's all for fun. Luke swallowed hard. You sure? Of course I'm sure, I replied. Now do you want to find Clay or not? Luke nodded. Then let's go, I ordered. I sat down at the top of slide number 10. Luke plopped down right beside me, stretching his legs outside of mine. I felt the floor tilt up beneath us. We started to slide. Clay, here we come, I cried. End of chapter 6. Emerald, hi, hey. I'm happy you're able to make it. I hope you're doing well. Oops, I'm sorry. I was trying to be gentle with my drink this whole time. I'm still getting used to being quiet. I woke up and I'm gonna fall back to sleep with this. Perfect. Have good EPs. I know it's like a possibility that, people are actually sleeping right now. So I'm giving everyone head pats. I'm petting everyone. As everyone is sleeping. That makes me happy. I'm glad I can bring some comfort. I love the sound of the rain. It makes me wish it was actually raining. But I suppose it's kind of neat that it's raining for all of us here in our little world. I think I prefer that anyway. It's like we're all together. It's supposed to rain all next week for you. I'm jealous. Then I'm glad we're spending some time in the rain today together. And I hope you enjoy the rain when it happens. I love the rain. Alright. Let's see if they chose the slide of doom, shall we? Chapter 7. I didn't scream this time. I clasped my hands in my lap and gritted my teeth. There was no way I was going to enjoy this ride. I just wanted to get to the end of it. I wanted to solve the mystery and find Clay. As we slid down together, Luke grabbed onto me, his hands gripping my waist. He cried out when we slid over a big bump, and it felt as if we were going to go flying off the slide. Then we both screamed as the slide took a steep dive almost straight down, and we started to fall. We landed hard, and then the slide curved sharply to the right. We were both screaming our lungs out now. We were sliding faster and faster, in total darkness, blacker than black. I tried to see if we were moving alongside two other slides, but it was so dark, I couldn't even see my sneakers in front of me. Luke squeezed my waist so hard I could hardly breathe. I tried to tell him to loosen his grip, but he was screaming too loud to hear. Down, down, darker and darker. We hit another bump that sent us bouncing up into the air. Then the slide dipped and curved sharply to the left. We should be at the bottom by now, I realized. We've been sliding a very long time. I gritted my teeth harder and tried to brace myself to go flying out the chute and bumping onto the ground. But no chute opened. The ride didn't end. We began to slide faster. I gasped in mouthfuls of the hot, damp air, struggling to catch my breath. The slide dipped and curved, sending us down into the thick, heavy blackness. We're going to slide forever. The warning sign didn't lie. I struggled to force those frightening thoughts from my mind. Luke suddenly got very quiet. Are you okay? I called back to him. I don't know, he replied, holding on even tighter. Why are we sliding so long? You're hurting me, I cried. He loosened his hold a bit. I don't like this, he shouted in my ear. He hit another bump. His hands flew off of me. Another bump, even harder. I thought I was going to fly off the slide and fall to the bottom, if there was a bottom. Down, down. Luke and I both cried out in disgust as something sticky covered our faces. I reached up with both hands and tried to pull it off. Yuck, Luke screamed. What is it? My face. It's like cobwebs, I shouted back at him. Hot, sticky cobwebs. My whole face itched. The sticky threads covered my face like a net. I pulled frantically at them. Oh, I cried out as the slide took another sharp dip. Tearing at the sticky cobwebs, I managed to pull most of them off, but my face still itched like crazy. It felt as if 1,000 ants were crawling around on it. It's so gross, Luke yelled behind me. My face, it hurts. Down, down into the heavy darkness, and then a flare of bright light made me shut my eyes. Was it daylight? Were we heading outside? No. I forced my eyes open and squinted at the yellow light, and realized I was staring at blazing flames. The slide ahead of us was on fire. The yellow and orange flames raged up, topped by a curtain of billowing black smoke. I raised my hands to my face and started to shriek. We were sliding right into the blazing flames. We're going to burn up, Luke screamed. Help! Somebody! Help us! End of chapter 7. Ooh, scary. I don't know what I would do if I ran into cobwebs that were sticky and made me feel itchy. I think I'd cry. I think I'd cry. I don't mind cobwebs and I don't mind spiders, but I do mind being sticky. I do not like being sticky. So, I miss the rain so much. Heat wave is trying to approach me again. I'm sorry about the heat wave. I know a lot of you are dealing with extreme heat right now, so I hope you're taking care of yourselves, staying hydrated and making sure that you are taking it easy and being kind to yourselves, since heat takes a lot of energy. So if you're not as productive as usual, or you're a little grouchier than usual, I hope you know it's not your fault. It used to take me about 5 stories from my big book of Grimm's fairy tales to get me to bed when I was really young. I would ask after every story, another story, another story. That's cute. Ooh, that might be a good thing to read on stream too. Grimm's fairy tales. I was telling someone that if I was in the dark world for like Deltarune, if I was a darkener, my light item, my light world counterpart would probably be a Grimm's fairy tale book. The UK has hit record-breaking temperatures multiple times this year. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Really, please make sure you're being safe, because I know that people in the UK aren't used to this kind of heat and aren't prepared for this kind of heat. So absolutely keep yourself safe and be kind to yourselves. Okay. I need to sip some more water and we will get on with this story and see if we slide into hell, I suppose. Chapter 8. I shut my eyes and felt a powerful burst of heat, almost like an explosion. I'm burning up, I thought. Burning up. A whoosh of cold air made me open my eyes. The fire was behind us now. We had sailed right through it. Curving gently, we slid through the cool darkness. I could still see the orange flicker of flames reflected on the dark walls above us. Luke and I were both silent. I was waiting for my heart to stop thudding in my chest. Great special effects, Luke cried. He let out a wild laugh, a frantic laugh I've never heard of before. The fire was fake, I realized. Some kind of projection or something. I sucked in mouthfuls of the cool air. I'd never been so terrified in my life. When does this ride end? Luke cried. His voice had become high and frightened. Never, I thought glumly. We really are going to slide forever. And as that frightening thought lingered in my mind, a chute opened up in front of us. Daylight streamed in. Bump. I landed hard on soft grass. A second later, Luke dropped out behind me. I blinked several times, waiting for my eyes to adjust to the bright daylight. Then I climbed slowly to my feet, my heart still pounding. A yellow and green sign on a wooden pole stood directly in front of us. It read, "Welcome to Doom. Population, 0 humans." Standing next to the sign was Clay. He came rushing over to greet us, a happy smile on his brown-pink face. "Hey guys, hey," he called. "Where have you been?" He slapped Luke a high five. Then Luke gave him a playful punch in the stomach. "Where have we been?" I asked. "Where have you been?" "Right here," Clay replied. "I didn't know where I was. I think this is the other side of the park or something, so I just waited for you." We went back on the dune slide. Luke explained. "We took your slide, number 10. What a ride. It was so cool." A few seconds ago, Luke had been shrieking in real terror. Now here he was, pretending he loved it, telling Clay how cool it was. "You picked the good slide," Luke told Clay. "Wow, it was excellent." "I was kind of scared," Clay confessed. "I mean, the fire. Great special effects," my brother exclaimed. "This park is awesome." Luke was such a phony. There was no way he could ever admit that he had been worried about Clay, and no way he'd admit that the long slide to doom had terrified him. But I was glad to see his old enthusiasm returning. I really didn't like seeing my brother frightened and in a panic. "It was kind of a long slide," Clay said, frowning. His feathery blonde hair glowed in the bright sunlight. "A little too long, I think." "I'd like to go on it again," Luke boasted. I turned and gazed around, and we definitely were in another section of Horrorland. Nothing looked familiar. Across the wide walkway, I saw several kids in bathing suits heading down a sandy path. A sign over the path read, "Horror Rapids." To our right, a square-shaped building made of glass reflected the bright sunlight. The glass wall shimmered brightly as if on fire. Squinting into the light, I could just barely make out the sign in front of it. House of Mirrors. "Let's try the House of Mirrors," Luke urged, pulling Clay by the arm. "Whoa, wait a minute," I cried. "Don't you think we should try to find Mom and Dad?" They're way over on the other side of the park," Luke replied, tugging Clay along with him across the pavement. "Let's have some fun and then find them." "They're probably looking for us," I said fretfully. "The park isn't very crowded. They'll find us," Luke replied. "Come on, Lizzie. It looks like fun." I hesitated, thinking about Mom and Dad. I stared into the white glare of the glass building. Suddenly, I felt someone tap my shoulder. Startled, I cried out and spun around. It was a green costumed horror. His bulging eyes stared into mine as he leaned close to me. "Get away while you can," he whispered. He turned his eyes quickly from side to side as if making sure no one was watching him. "Please, I'm serious. Get away while you can." End of chapter 8. Already 17 degrees Celsius at 5:31. How much is 17 degrees? I'll need to look that up. I wish I was better at converting Celsius to Fahrenheit and back again. You would think I'd be used to it by now, since most of my mods use Celsius. And just the metric system in general. Okay. I will get to know the temperatures one day. And I'll be like, oh, at 17 degrees Celsius, that's around something degrees Fahrenheit. Or like, I'm a handful of centimeters. Well, not a handful of centimeters, but... Alright. Chapter 9. Chapter 9. I was so stunned. I didn't say anything. I watched him run off, moving awkwardly in the bulky horror costume, his purple tail dragging over the pavement behind him. What did he want? Clay called. He and Luke were already up the House of Mirrors entrance. He said we should get out while we can, I stammered, running over to them. I lost them for a moment in the blinding sunlight reflected off the glass building. Luke laughed. "These horror guys are great," he declared. "They really try to scare you in this place." 62 degrees Fahrenheit? Interesting. And it's gonna get to 22 later. I'm not really aware of what, how do I say? I don't know how hot that is for you. Because for me, 62 degrees is not warm at all. It starts getting warm for us around 80 degrees. So, it is interesting how different we all feel temperature based on where we are. But yes, please stay safe. Behind his glasses, Clay's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. "He was kidding, right?" he asked quietly. "I mean, it was just a joke, wasn't it?" "I don't know," I told him. "I guess so." I watched the horror disappear quickly behind a tall, blue, pyramid-shaped building. "That's his job," Luke insisted. "He goes around scaring people all day." "Maybe he was really warning us," Clay murmured, staring at me. "No way," Luke declared. He gave Clay a hard slap in the back. "Stop looking so gloomy all the time. This is a great place. You like to be scared, don't you?" Clay's expression remained worried. "I guess," he replied uncertainly. I started to tell Clay I was sure it was a joke, but Luke interrupted. "Hurry up, let's check out the House of Mirrors. Let's have some fun before Mom and Dad show up and make us leave." He dragged Clay toward the entrance, and I followed. We passed another no pinching sign as we made our way to the shimmering glass building. Outside the entrance, I stopped to read the yellow and green sign. It read, "House of Mirrors. Reflect before you enter. No one may ever see you again." "Hey, wait up," I called to the boys. They had already hurried inside. I stepped in and found myself in a narrow, dark tunnel. My eyes were still filled with the bright glare from outside. I couldn't see a thing. Luke, Clay, wait up, I shouted. My voice echoed through the low tunnel. I could hear them laughing up ahead. I jogged, blindly, ducking my head because the ceiling was so low. Finally, my eyes adjusted to the darkness. The tunnel ended, and I found myself in a narrow corridor with mirrored walls and a mirrored ceiling. Oh, I uttered a low cry. I could see my reflections. Dozens of them. I seemed to surround myself. I stopped for a moment and adjusted my long black braid. It was always coming loose. Then I called again to the boys. Where are you? Wait up. I could hear them giggling somewhere up ahead. Try and find us, Luke called. More giggling. I made my way quickly through the mirrored walkway. The walls curved to the right, then the left. My reflections followed me, stretching deep into the mirrors. Dozens and dozens of me getting smaller and smaller, stretching to infinity. Hey, don't get too far ahead, I cried. I heard them giggling. Then I heard a rumble of footsteps that seemed to come from the other side of the mirrored wall. I followed the corridor, walking slowly, carefully, until I saw a narrow opening up ahead. Wait right there, I'm coming through, I called. I started through the opening and bonk, hit my head on solid glass. Ow, I cried, as the pain jolted across my forehead and then back down my neck, all the way down to my spine. I raised my hands to the glass and waited for my dizziness to fade away. Lizzie, where are you? Try to find us, Luke called. I hit my head, I shouted, rubbing my forehead. I could hear him and Clay laughing, and their voices seemed to be behind me now. I turned back, but there were only mirrors behind me. No opening. My head still ached a little, but the dizziness had gone away. I started walking again, more carefully this time. I kept both hands out in front of me so I wouldn't bump into anything again. I turned a corner and stepped into a different room. To my surprise, the floor in this room was a mirror. The walls, the ceilings, the floor were all mirrors. I felt as if I were standing in a mirrored box. I took a few careful steps. It felt so weird walking on my own reflection. I could see the tops and the bottoms of my sneakers as I walked. It made it really hard to walk. I kept having the feeling that I was going to fall into myself. Hey guys, where are you? I called. No reply. I felt a sharp stab of fear in my stomach. Luke? Clay? Are you there? I saw the mouths of my reflections move as I called out. Dozens of mouths, but only one voice came out. My voice, tiny and shrill. Luke? Clay? Silence. Don't fool around, guys, I shouted. Where are you? Silence. No reply. I stared at the dozens of reflections on all sides of me. They all looked very frightened. Luke? Clay? Where had they gone? End of chapter 9. How many chapters are in here? Okay. There's about 29 chapters. We are on chapter 10, so I want to try to make it to chapter 14 or chapter 15 before the end of stream. So we might run a little over the 2 hours, if that's okay. see. If you count the humidity, with 70 degrees could feel like 80 or 90 depending on how bad it is. Not a fan of the heat. Feels heavy and thick like you're being crushed under a hot weighted blanket. A damp hot weighted blanket. Oh, ew. I don't know. I don't like that. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. I don't have too much humidity where I'm at, so any higher humidity I'm taking out, so I do not envy you at all. Mirror mazes are no joke. I went through the one they have at the Museum of Science and Industry, and those things are no joke when it comes to fear and thriller vibes. Imagine being stalked by a yandere in one of them, though. I have, okay, well, not me, but Emery wrote a script for Easton's ringleader character, Roland, a not safe for work script that one of the scenes takes place in a House of Mirrors. I really like House of Mirrors. They freak me out, but in a good way. A lot can be done there. The humidity makes it feel like 100 over here. Ew. Yeah, I can't deal with humidity. Our heat over here in California is very dry. We don't get too much humidity unless we're going closer to, like, the beaches, I suppose, or even down more south. But even then, it doesn't really feel too humid. So, even if we're right by the water. Alright. Okay, so it looks with my normal time of 2 hours that I will be able to get half of the book done. So I don't know if I want to keep up with that trend or if I want to extend my stream. To finish a whole book. This is something I have to think about. I'm still trying to work out my schedule here and with the Lux Hearts. Okay. Chapter 10. I stared at my reflections as horrifying thoughts swept over me. Had the boys really disappeared? Had they fallen into some kind of trap? Were they lost in the maze of glass and mirrors? Horrorland was too scary, I decided. It was fun to be scared, but it was too hard to tell whether the scares were here for fun or for real. Were there dangers in this place? Or was it all a big scary joke? Luke? Clay? I called to them in a trembling voice, turning all around, searching for an exit. Silence. Then I heard a muffled giggle. Then I heard whispering voices nearby. Another giggle, louder this time, Luke's giggle. They had been playing a joke on me. Hey, you're not funny, I screamed angrily. Really, not funny. I could hear them both burst out laughing. Come and find us, Lizzie, Luke called. What's taking you so long, Clay added. More giggling. It seemed to come from just up ahead. Sliding my hands along the mirrors, I followed the hallway around to the right. I had to duck my head to slip through a narrow opening between the mirrors. I found myself in another small room surrounded by mirrors above and below and on all sides. The mirrors were tilted at strange angles so that my reflections appeared to bounce off each other as I moved. Where are you? Am I getting closer? I called. The light grew dim as I made my way through this room. My reflections darkened. The shadows grew longer. "We can't see you," Clay called. "Hurry up," Luke shouted impatiently. "I'm going as fast as I can," I screamed. "Just don't move, okay? Stay in one place." "We are," Luke called back. "How will we ever get out of here?" I heard Clay ask in a low voice. Ow! I bumped my head again on a section of clear glass. I pounded my fist angrily on the glass. This wasn't any fun, I decided. It was too painful. "Hurry up," Luke called from somewhere nearby. "It's boring waiting here for you." "I'm coming," I muttered, rubbing my poor, aching forehead. I turned a corner and stepped into a wider room. No mirrors here. The walls were all glass. I stopped to gaze around, and there was Luke. "Finally," he cried. "Why couldn't you find us?" "I kept hitting my head," I told him. "Let's get out of here." "Where's Clay?" "Huh?" Luke's mouth dropped open in surprise. He spun around, searching for his friend. "He was standing right here," he said. "Luke, I'm in no mood for any more dumb jokes," I said sharply. "Clay, where are you hiding?" "I'm not hiding, I'm over here," Clay called. I took a few steps closer to my brother, and Clay came into view. He was standing in deep shadows behind a glass wall, his hands pressed against the plane. "How'd you get over there?" Luke asked. Clay shrugged. "I can't find a way out." I moved toward my brother, then stopped. I suddenly realized that he was behind a wall of glass. Luke and I were in different rooms. This is a good one too. Glass rooms. "Hey, where's the opening?" I asked him. Luke glanced around. "What do you mean, Lizzie?" "You and we're not in the same room," I replied. I walked up to the glass and tapped on it with my fist. "Huh?" Luke's face filled with surprise. He made his way over to me, then he tapped on his side of the glass, as if making sure it really did exist. "How'd it get there?" he murmured. Clay started moving around his room, sliding his hands along the planes of glass, searching for an opening. "Stand right there," I told Luke. "I'll find a way into your room." I followed Clay's example. I moved slowly around the room, keeping a hand pressed against the glass. The light was dim. My shadow fell over the glass as I walked. I could see my face reflected darkly in the glass. My eyes stared back at me, dark and desperate. Before I realized it, I had made a complete circle. I was back to where I started, and there was no opening, no doorway, no way out. "Hey, I'm trapped in here," Clay called shrilly. "So am I told him. "There's got to be an opening," Luke said. "How did we get in?" "You're right," I replied fretfully. "We should be able to get out of the way we came in." I began to search along the walls again, moving quickly. My heart began to pound, had a fluttering in my chest. There had to be a way out. There had to be. Luke pounded hard on the glass. In the other room, I could see Clay jogging frantically around his room, pushing on the walls as he moved. I went all the way around twice, and then stopped. There was no way out. I'm trapped," I stammered. It's like a box, a glass box." "We're all trapped," Clay cried. Luke was still pounding frantically on the glass with his fist. "Luke, stop," I cried shrilly. "That isn't helping." He lowered his fist to his sides. "This is ridiculous," he muttered. "There's gotta be a way out." "Maybe there's a trap door or something?" I suggested. I began to search the mirrored floor. It was too dark to see well. The floor appeared solid to me. I returned to the glass wall. "This isn't too much fun," I said glumly. Luke and Clay nodded. I could see they were both really frightened. So was I. But I decided I was 2 years older than them, so I had to try to be the brave one. I wasn't feeling very brave, though. Uttering a worried sigh, I leaned against the wall that separated Luke and me, and as I leaned, the wall started to move. I pulled back with a sharp cry. The wall was sliding toward me, closing in on me. I took another step back. Glancing around frantically, I saw that all the walls were sliding in. "Luke!" I cried. I turned to see him backing up too. "The walls!" Clay called. "Help me! They're sliding in on me too!" Luke screamed. "Each room must have its own glass walls." All three of us, we were trapped. With a desperate groan, I threw myself back against one of the walls and tried to push it back. But I couldn't stop it. The box was closing in, growing smaller, smaller. We're going to be crushed. End of chapter 10. I do think after this, after I get to a good stopping point, if it's okay, I would like to try out some typical ASMR stuff, just so I can gauge how it sounds to everyone. Because I don't really listen to ASMR. I've always just been the one making it, and in the audio roleplay sense, so I don't really know how to, I suppose, make those sounds. I know people like to tapping and such and typing and such as they're talking. That is what I want to try to do, just to see, volume-wise. Okay, chapter 11. "Do something. Please do something." Clay was screaming. Luke lowered his shoulder to the glass and struggled to stop it from moving. But he wasn't strong enough. The walls kept sliding in on him. I backed up, my hands raised like a shield. Closer, closer. The glass walls moved silently, slowly. I backed up until my back hit the wall behind me. There was nowhere to go. "Do something. Somebody do something." Clay's terrified screams rang in my ears. "The glass, it's squeezing me!" Luke shrieked. "Lizzie, I can't move." I shouted to him. The panes of glass began to press in on me from all sides, above and below too. I suddenly pictured one of those crushed cars. You know, the cars that are crunched into a perfect square in those big compactor machines. My entire body shuddered as I realized I was going to be crushed into a perfect square too. "Ow!" I cried out as the glass pressed down on me. "Somebody help!" I tried to scream, but my voice came out a muffled yelp. It was getting hard to breathe. The glass panes moved in, tighter, tighter. I gasped for air. I tried to push with all my might against the glass, but it was no use. I was being crushed into a human square. Chapter 12. I couldn't hear Luke or Clay anymore. I could only hear my gasping, choked breath. I could feel my eyes. I shut them and felt the floor drop away. Before I realized what was happening, I was falling rapidly down. I opened my eyes in time to see the glass walls roll above me as I slid down, down through an open chute. And in a few seconds, I was back outside. I landed sitting on top of the grass with a gentle thud. Luke and Clay came sliding up beside me. For a moment, we sat on the grass, blinking in the bright sunlight, staring at each other in disbelief. "We're okay?" Clay said uncertainly, finally breaking the silence. He slowly climbed to his feet. His round face was bright red, and his glasses were crooked and nearly falling off his nose. We're okay. Luke let out a laugh, a gleeful laugh. He stood up and began jumping up and down for joy. I didn't exactly expect to feel like jumping up and down. I was still picturing the crushed car. Luke reached down, grabbed both of my hands, and pulled me up to my feet. What should we do next? He demanded, grinning. Huh? Next? I cried. Are you for real? That was really scary, Clay said, his face still red. I thought we were going to be scrunched flat. It was awesome, Luke declared. Once again, he was forgetting that a few seconds before, he had been screaming in total panic. It was way too scary, Clay murmured, shaking his head. Clay's right, I agreed. It was too scary to be fun. One more second and... Don't you see? That's the whole idea, Luke cried. That's how they scare you here. It's so awesome. They make you think that one more second and you're a goner. But it's all perfectly timed. They want you to be terrified and then poof, you're okay. I guess you're right, said Clay doubtfully. He pushed up his glasses, then rubbed his chin. We're not really going to get hurt or anything, Luke continued. This is an amusement park, remember? They want you to come back again and again, so they're not really going to hurt anybody. Maybe, Clay said. But Luke, what if they mess up? I asked him. What if the machines get goofed off? What if the timing gets off? Let's say the floor underneath us got stuck. Then what? Luke didn't reply. He stared back at me thoughtfully. What would have happened to us if the floor hadn't dropped away at the right moment? I demanded. Luke shrugged. They make sure everything works okay, he answered finally. I rolled my eyes. Yeah, sure. Is it possible to really be scared to death? Clay asked me, a solemn expression on his face. I mean, I know what happens in books and movies, but does it happen in real life? I don't know. Maybe? I replied. I bet people could get scared to death in the House of Mirrors, Clay continued seriously. No way, Luke insisted. Listen to me. This is just a place for fun. Scary fun. He was watching something over my shoulder. I turned to see one of the guys in a green horror costume walking by, carrying a huge bouquet of black balloons. Luke hurried up beside the horror. Hey, has anyone died here in this place? Luke asked. The horror kept walking. The black balloons bobbed above his head. Only one, he told Luke. One person died here. The horror shook his big green head. No, not what I meant. What did you mean? Luke demanded. A person can only die once here, the horror said. No one has ever died twice. That's a funny way to put it. Chapter 13. Do you mean people have really died here? I shouted. But the horror walked quickly on, the black balloons bouncing against each other, floating darkly against a clear blue sky. The horror's answer made me shiver. It wasn't just his words, it was the cold tone of his voice, the way he made it sound like a warning. He was joking, right? Clay asked in a trembling voice. He scratched his blonde hair nervously. Yeah, I guess, I replied. A family walked past us, heading toward the House of Mirrors. They had 2 little boys with them, both about 5 or 6, and both of them were crying. I've seen so many crying kids in this park, I commented. They're just wimps, Luke replied. Scaredy cats. Let's go find them another ride or something. No, I really think we should find Mom and Dad, I told him. Yeah, let's go find them, Clay said eagerly. The poor kid. I think he was really scared, but he was trying his best not to let my brother see how frightened he was. Oh, what's the hurry? Luke protested. Let them find us. But they're probably really worried, I insisted. I started walking toward the front gate. Dad will only make us leave, Luke grumbled. But he followed anyway, and Clay gratefully came along, keeping close to my side. Following the trail, we passed by a rickety old wooden roller coaster. It rose up as high as a 4-story building, casting a wide, dark shadow over the walk. A sign in front read, "Out of order. Do you dare to ride it anyway?" The gate was open. There was no attendant. Hey Lizzie, wanna ride it? Luke asked, staring at the beat-up old cars parked at the bottom of the tracks. No way, Clay and I replied in unison. We kept on walking. The trail curved under thick trees, and we were suddenly in the shade. A sign read, "Beware of tree snakes." Clay covered his head with his hands. All three of us raised our eyes to the trees. Were there really snakes up there? It was too dark to see anything. The leaves were so thick. No sunlight filtered through. Suddenly, I heard a gentle hissing sound. At first, I thought it was just a rustle of the leaves, but the hissing sound grew louder, until all of the trees seemed to be hissing down at us. Run! I cried. The three of us started running along the trail, ducking low, our sneakers thudding hard on the pavement. The hissing in the trees above us grew louder, angrier. I thought I saw a long, dark snake slithering in the grass beside the trail, but it might have been just a shadow. We kept running even after the trees ended, and we were in sunlight again. The trail curved past a row of evil-looking statues. They were made of stone. They were statues of grinning monsters. Eyes narrowed menacingly, fangs lowered from their twisted mouths. Their arms were outstretched, ready to grab anyone who came close. I slowed to a trot, my eyes on the ugly statues. Suddenly, I heard low, evil laughter. It's coming from the statues, Clay exclaimed. Keep running. Did the statues move toward us? Did they raise their arms higher? Did they beckon us to come closer? I'm not sure. With their evil laughter in my ears, I lowered my head and turned on the speed. All three of us were panting hard as we ran along the trail. I didn't see any other people. I didn't see anyone in a horror costume either. We slowed as we came to another sign. This one had an arrow pointing in the direction we were running. It read, "Front exit. Don't bother. You will never escape." I caught the worried expression on Clay's face as he read the sign. It's only a joke, I told him. The signs are supposed to be funny. Ha ha, he said weakly. He was panting hard, struggling to catch his breath. Without warning, Luke jumped on Clay's shoulders. Hey Clay, how about a ride? Clay cried out angrily, Get off! Luke laughed and hung on. Clay dropped to his knees, trying to throw Luke off. Come on, guys, I pleaded. Luke, stop being such a goof. We're trying to find Mom and Dad. But now they were laughing and wrestling on the ground. Come on, guys, I shouted, rolling my eyes. Let's go. I tugged my brother to his feet. Clay's glasses had flown off. He stopped to pick them up from the grass. Then we continued our way. The path led past a rectangular flower garden filled with black flowers. Then it suddenly came to a stop in front of a large red barn. The boys walked up to the doorway of the barn. I stayed back, searching for a path that led around the barn. I couldn't see one. The path goes right through the barn to the other side, Luke called to me. Come on, Lizzie. He motioned for me to join them. I spotted a small sign painted to the right of the barn's double doors. It read, Bat Barn. Hey, are there any bats in there? I called, feeling a cold shudder run down my back. I like most animals, but bats really give me the creeps. I love bats. I think they're cuties. They're like puppies with wings. Luke stepped inside the barn. Clay hung back, standing just outside the door. I don't see any, Luke called out to me. It's kind of dark, though. A strange odor invaded my nostrils. It was strong and sour. It came from the barn. I didn't want to go in there. Come on, Lizzie, Luke called. The path goes right out on the other side. Don't be a chicken. You can run straight through. I stepped up beside Clay at the doorway and peered inside the barn. It looks okay, Clay said quietly. The sour odor was much stronger. Yuck, I said, making a face. It really stinks. Luke stood inside the barn, his eyes raised to the rafters. I don't see anything up there, he reported. Doors on the opposite wall were wide open. It would only take 10 seconds to run through the barn, and to the other side, I realized. Let's go, I told Clay. He and I stepped into the barn. The sour smell was overpowering. I held my breath and pinched my fingers over my nose. We started running to the doors on the opposite wall, and they slammed shut. With a gasp of surprise, I turned back to the doors we had entered. They slammed shut too. Hey, I shouted angrily. What's going on? Clay cried in a whisper. We were in total darkness, blacker than black. The sour odor swept over me. I started to feel sick. And then I heard the rapid flutter of wings. Soft at first, then louder, closer. I screamed as I felt something brush against the back of my neck. End of chapter 13. Oh, chapter 14 is very short. Okay, this will be the last chapter for today. Chapter 14. Go away, I let out, a low moan of horror, and swung my hands wildly above my head. The rapid fluttering retreated, then returned. Bats! Clay cried in a terrified tiny voice. I felt him grab my arm. I can't see, Luke shouted. It's so dark. I hate bats, I stammered. I felt a cold whoosh of air as a bat flapped over my head. I swung my hands wildly. The flapping, fluttering sounds were all around us. As my eyes slowly adjusted to the darkness, I began to see shadowy shapes shooting past, back and forth, faster and faster. Oh, help, I cried. Clay started to shriek. Help us, help us. They're zooming right at me, Luke wailed. Something bumped into my shoulder. I screamed. Help us, Clay continued, to plead at the top of his lungs. His shouts were nearly drowned out by the flapping of wings. I felt another bat brush against my shoulder. Covering my face, I tried to make my way blindly to the door. The sour odor choked me. My terror made my legs shaky. I could barely walk. And then I felt a hard tug in my hair. Another tug, loud flapping right on my head. A shrill whistling hiss. So close, it could have been coming from me. I screamed. I screamed again. It's in my hair, I cried, falling to my knees. Another shrill hiss, another tug of my hair. I swung my hands. I hit it. I felt a warm body, felt the brush of fluttering wings. I shoved it hard, shoved it from my hair. Oh, help, I cried. The flapping wings and shrill whistles surrounded me. I could hear Luke and Clay shouting, but they seemed far, far away. Another one brushed my cheek. Another one bumped my shoulder. The shadows darted back and forth. The barn was alive with flying, chittering bats. Oh, help us! Help us, please! Another one brushed my face. I felt a rush of air, beating wings on the top of my head. Help us! Help us! But there was no one around to help. End of chapter 14. Okay. And that is the first half of Goosebumps One Day at Horrorland. Good gracious. So noted, these books take me about 4 hours to read in total, at least out loud. I do appreciate you all being patient as I figure out this new thing that I'm doing. Thank you, Dee. I really appreciate it. I'm happy to be able to be reading with you all. I've been wanting to get back into reading. I've been so busy lately. I used to read all the time, so I thought that this was an excellent way to spend time with all of you while getting some words in. It's been really fun. Okay. Before I go, I would like chat's opinion, because I do want to do a co-working stream where I'm typing and talking to you all, but I don't know which keyboard to use and which one sounds better. So if it's alright, I think I would love to type a little bit for you all, and you can pick your favorite keyboard. Would that be okay? I'll put up a poll so you can pick. But I just would really like to know, since I have 3 different keyboards. Perfect. Alright, let me go ahead and grab my keyboards. But let me pause my model so it doesn't freak out on me. No, I'm just gonna hide myself. Okay, I'm still here. Those of you who lacked object permanence, I promise I'm still here. Oh, object permanence, my one enemy. Alright. There we go. I'm back. Let me go ahead and set up that poll really quickly. I also have to remember I'm still doing ASMR, so I have to be quiet. Let's see. Manage poll. Create a new poll. Which keyboard do you prefer? Original keyboard, typewriter. Just click your keyboard. How about that? Okay, I'm already gonna put the poll up, but I suggest not voting until you hear all 3 of them, okay? Alright. Let's see. Oh, please don't make too much noise, Self. Alright. Sorry, I'm just adjusting so the keyboard's closer. And let me know if, how the sound is. I suppose if I'll have to turn down the rain sound and such. Alright. Let me go ahead and pull up a document to type on. I am typing. This is me typing on my original keyboard. Type, type, type. I am working so hard, I am a working mouse. Work, work, work. Numbers, numbers, numbers. Business, business, business. I hope this email does not find you well. Grumpy face. So that is the first keyboard. Oh no. I'm gonna disappear for a second. I'm still here, I promise. Okay, I'm back. And now this is the typewriter keyboard. I hope this email robs you, steals both kidneys, and bashes in your knee. Sincerely, Mimzy May. Happy face. Work, work, work. Numbers, numbers, numbers. I am writing a script. This is a keyboard I usually use for writing. So, there's that one. And then there is this one, which I feel like is in the middle of the two. So, to whom it may concern, I am writing this email to let you know that you don't have enough pumpkin pastries a part of your bakery. Hopefully those were all good. Okay, now you all can vote if you'd like. To whom it displeases. Chat, don't make it a tie. To whom it displeases. Not sincerely. Cold regards. The original keyboard, really? Well, so far at least. The more clicky-clacky the keyboard, the more irrationally angry it makes me. So... Alright, it looks like original keyboard, so I don't have to change my keyboard if I'm working. That's good. Oh! Sorry, give me a second. There we go. Alright, so original keyboard it is. Thank you so much. And that is what I'll be using to do some ASMR co-working stream. Hi Oro, thank you for the resub. And thank you also, I think I had actually a couple other resubs earlier. Yes, I did. Thank you for the resub. And Boa, thank you for the resub as well. How's it going? Well, we just finished chapter 14 of our book, so I will be stopping today with that. I was just trying out some ASMR stuff, the keyboards and everything. I guess this is a good opportunity since I am really trying to, since I have a lot of you here, and I don't know how responsive chat will be in future ASMR streams. Is there anything you would like me to try? Like maybe like tapping or... I don't really know how to do ASMR. Besides, you know, audio roleplays. So I don't know how to do any traditional stuff. This stream was perfect as it is, just like... Oh, okay, cool. Thank you so much. Slime? I don't have slime. I have Play-Doh. Singing and humming. Okay. Play-Doh. Slime. Okay. Interesting. I will have to look that up. I'll listen to ASMR to sleep, used to treat certain Luxart videos as ASMR as well. That totally makes sense. Slime makes me want to evacuate my soul. Writing with pen and paper. D, you are so right, actually. Let me go ahead and try that. Hang on, I will disappear for a second. Because thankfully I do a lot of physical writing, so let me make sure you all can hear it though. So this is me writing. You like that one? Okay, perfect. Alright, we are building up my arsenal of ASMR stuff. So, got some writing. And on the original keyboard for typing. Okay, I think that is definitely a good start. And when it comes to humming or singing, is that all people do, or they do it with like tapping and stuff? I've always wondered how that went. Hero, hi Bunny, hi. I hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the pumpkin patch, my love. I also probably need to... Okay. I'm gonna try some humming and see how we feel about it. Okay? If we hate it, if it's not comfy, I would like to know. Or if it's not ASMR, I can save it for other streams. But I'm gonna try some humming. I am not a singer. I can kind of carry a tune. So yeah. Okay. This is making me cringe. Hang on. I'm shaking. Why am I so shaky? Hang on. Good gracious. How am I supposed to do covers and karaoke streams? Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Okay, I think that's it for now. My throat is already like, you know, but yeah. So I will probably do that. Maybe some humming or some singing, maybe for like practice for covers and karaoke streams if I do them. Hydrate. I will hydrate. Thank you, Zoe. But yeah, okay. Oh, let's see. Chat, what are you saying? Not everyone's favorite, but I enjoy tapping on porcelain and glass and or wooden objects. Also the lighting of a candle. Porcelain or glass? I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab a couple things and see how we feel about them. Thank you guys for staying with me and keeping me company and helping me figure out what I want to do on ASMR streams. I really appreciate it. Okay, hang on. Alright, I am back. Oh, I also do have some music boxes, actually. Give me a second. Hang on. Okay, now I'm officially back. Okay. I think I'm also stalling because I'm really nervous with the fireworks, so I think talking is distracting me. So, okay. So I do have a couple music boxes. So there's this one. I wonder if you can hear it. So I have ones that are quiet, that I crank a little thing, or we also have the typical wind up. Correct, Finn, it is Beauty the Beast. This is my musical snow globe. It has a rose in it. Music box and writing ASMR. Okay. And then I do have an unused candle here. Like a small... Oh, I'm sorry, that was probably loud. I dropped my phone. I do have a candle here that I haven't used. A small little candle I can keep with me. So I guess I'll try tapping on it. Okay. Is a candle scented? It is. It is honeysuckle scented. Yeah, backyard honeysuckle, exclusive fragrance soy blend candle. And it has a textured top that I can run my nails on. Or I can tap on it. So yeah. So there's that. That is also an option if there are people who enjoy that. I know people do like certain like trigger routines and such. There was also, where do I... You don't like tapping at all? Oh, then you're not gonna like being around us, because Easton and I tap a lot. We stim a lot like that. Easton more than me though. Give me 1 second. Where did you go? Oh, you're here. Key jingles? I'll have to find some keys. I know that there are people who like the sound of like hairbrushes. Like hairbrushes being like... What do we think about this? So there's hairbrushes, wind chimes, and keys. Do I have any wind chimes or keys? I think I have keys somewhere. I think it's also just trying to figure out like a good volume level for everything. I hope I'm good at this. I don't really know if there's like a certain speed or and such. Let me go see if I can grab some keys. And I think that'll probably be the end of it. So we shall see. What kind of mic am I using? I've always used a Blue Yeti. It's the mic that we've stuck with. And I also use a, what's the word? Like a sound dome over it. So the mic acts like it's in a sound booth, but it's condensed. I know that ASMR people have like these very specific mics that look like ears. And I'm not sure if that is something I want to invest in. I have some keys, and I also have scissors. Because I like the sound of scissors. So, I'm not sure if the keys are gonna work. Because I myself don't really like jingling keys, and I'm trying to do the sounds as they are pleasant to me, I suppose, to make sure that it's okay. Okay, I don't know how to do this. Hang on. Jingle, jingle. Okay. It sounds like a jingle of my dog's collar. Oh, also, I'm not sure if you guys like the music boxes and such. We don't have wind chimes inside that house, but we do have a kalimba. Is that something that you guys would want to hear being like plucked out? Scissors. You love the kalimba. Perfect. How are we feeling about scissors? Does it need paper? With or without the paper, chat? What do we think? Perfect. I think this is a perfect foundation then. I'm really happy. Okay, cool. And then I will have some redeems. I will have some redeems that you can redeem certain triggers. I think that's what it's called. Certain triggers and such. And, yeah. And I will also try to make a little incentive, like a gifted sub for 5 minutes of the same trigger or something. I think that's what people usually do. But I'll also have the opportunity, I'll also make sure that there's an opportunity to redeem specific triggers for just like a shorter amount of time. But yeah, it'll definitely be a mix of, it'll be a mix of me reading and doing proper ASMR or doing some co-working streams. This is also very good for Emery to know. And Hero! I can't yell at you right now. Hero! Thank you for the 5 gifted subs. If you're one of the people who are gifted a sub by Hero, make sure to say your thank yous. Oh my goodness, you guys really spoiled me today. I'm really grateful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Goodness. guess, I guess ASMR streams are the way to go for everyone, which I shouldn't be too surprised. I was worried that I would sound a little annoying, or I wouldn't be able to do it correctly, but I feel a lot more confident and a lot better now that I have gone through a lot of the triggers and have gone through half of the book and such, with everyone seemingly enjoying it. And I'm really happy. That makes me so happy. So I will definitely be, planning to do this again. Maybe do like a couple hours of reading and then like an hour of traditional ASMRs might be how I do it. But we shall see, we shall see. I'm really, really happy. Thank you all so much for your patience and bearing with me as I try out and experiment things on you all. Thank you for your support today. You truly all spoil me. I am very grateful. I am super duper grateful. You will have that pumpkin recipe reading ASMR stream sometime soon. And yeah, I don't know what my next sub goal will be. Maybe doing a sub goal for those fancy ASMR thingies. ASMR mics? I'm not sure. We'll definitely see. Okay, that is all for me. My throat is giving out on me, but I'm really happy. I'm very grateful to be here with all of you. Thank you for spending the end of the week with me. I'm gonna go ahead and change to my ending screen so I can say my goodbyes. Okie dokie. Artichoke. As a reminder, I will be playing Pokemon Scarlet on Sunday, getting through a few more gyms. Also upcoming is more Fanbo, as well as more ASMR and such. Oro, I will be back. You're so silly. I don't have the stamina most streamers have. But I will be back on Sunday. The twins are going to be with you guys tomorrow. And on Monday too, I believe. So, just a lot going on. And also, I am working on getting a Discord and a TikTok set up. So hopefully by either Sunday or Sunday or Wednesday, I will have a link for you all to be able to join the Discord server and to join TikTok and such. I have a very growing community, which I'm very grateful for, so I want to keep you all in one place. And I think it'll just be kind of fun. Okay, that is all I have for you all today. Let me go ahead and say my goodbyes. That is, my throat is giving out on me the last moment. Hang on. Okay. That is all for today with Mimzy May. Come back to the pumpkin patch soon, okay? Have a great time zone, everyone. I will see you very, 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 very soon. Yeah. Bye-bye. Janne.